From TakaraTomy and Transformers Alternity, this is Banzaitron, also known as Mitsuko Orochi Banzaitron. The Mitsuko Orochi is the sports car that he turns into. You can also see that this is Cristallo Black, specifically. Now, you might look at this and say that looks very different from the boxes that Alternity, Thundercracker, and Skywarp came in, and you are completely correct. Those guys were released to the general market. This guy was an exclusive to a handful of different chains, which doesn't make him any more expensive. Banzaitron is actually a little bit cheaper than Thundercracker and Skywarp, but it is why he came in this box. He was also much later in the line, where TakaraTomy was honestly kind of moving on. So this is the box that you saw for this guy and a couple of the Megatron variants. But you can see we got a picture of him here on the side. We got the same picture up here, just kind of a little bit more zoomed out. Here on the back, we have a number of great-looking glamour shots. Also, look at this deco. I love it. It's not very Banzaitron, but you know who it reminds me of? Do you remember Prime, Dead End? Yeah, Prime Dead End, the Terracon zombie. That's who that reminds me of. A lot, actually. Decepticon logo here on the side. Decepticon logo here on this side. And then some legalese down here. Alright. Pretty cool looking box. Of course, it has absolutely nothing on the Thundercracker and Skywarp box. I mean, I still have my box Thundercracker here, and you can just see, it's such a gorgeous box. It looks like a just straight-up model car. This, I don't know. Like, I mean, sure, you got the picture of Thundercracker's robot mode there, but this just felt a little bit more classy. This was a little bit more, TakaraTomy-y. It's not a bad box by any means. I just prefer the original. I'll tell you what surprised me is when you get Banzaitron out of the box, once he's actually out of the cardboard carton, that's the same exact plastic case that Thundercracker and Starscream and Skywarp were in, right down to how they did the directions underneath. So, this is basically just the guts of the other box. As for the mold, well, it's going to be exactly the same as Thundercracker and Skywarp, but hopefully with Thundercracker's improvements on tolerances. Oh, man. Alternity knew how to make a sick-looking car. I mean, just look at this. Now, I will point this out. The Orochi is a sports car, luxury sports car from Japan, and never really breached the international markets. It was somewhat common in Europe for a little bit. It was never really popular here in the States. And when Alternity was coming out, people hated this car for the Seekers. And it wasn't so much just because, most people wanted jet Seekers. It was also people just didn't like how it looked. I adore this, because it looks like an alien car. I mean, you just look at the front, you got like these little horns here, you got like these slitted pupils in the headlights. The entire car is just absolutely gorgeous. This is how I would expect a sports car to look if, like, in Star Trek they still had wheels on their cars. Speaking of those wheels, rubber tires. And if you want to open up the door, which you can do, you kind of have to reach a finger in to get it out. You can see that we have green for the interior. And if we do it on the other side, me being an American, I tend to assume, but there we go. The steering wheel is actually on this side. The steering wheel actually does turn, which is very nice. And there is an approximation for chairs. Unfortunately, they're not super good. You can actually open up the trunk, which is nice. Ooh, it's very stiff on mine. What am I doing wrong here? I can't get that to open. Am I wrong? Can you not open up the trunk on this? I thought you could. Yeah, at this point I'm just transforming it. Yeah, okay, I'm just super wrong. You can't open up the hood, though. Apologies, guys. It's been a little bit since I've done Thundercracker Skywarp. But by opening up the hood, you can see, yeah, there's just his head. No engine block here. So Alternity was similar to alternators. Definitely in aesthetic, they were very similar. But in terms of the gimmicks, they kind of just forgot to do things like the engine blocks and stuff. They were focusing more on just really making the transformation, the robot mode, something special, and I commend them for that, because if you've seen my Alternity Thundercracker review, you know that that figure is the only alternator adjacent toy that can ever touch Alternator Shock Blast as being my favorite from the entire line. But this, I'll be honest, this matte black is really working for me. I think this is my favorite car mode out of the three Seekers I own. I think I like it more than Thundercracker. I definitely like it more than Skywarp. My only question is, how does the robot mode look? Man, now I regret I didn't review this guy for Halloween. I mean, the first thing to point out is just the fact that this guy's absolutely gorgeous. The purple, the black, the orange, and the green, and even the red faceplate all work together to give you a very noxious, a very gnarly color scheme that works. It is honestly really impressive that all these colors have come together in just a perfect way to make this guy look fabulous. As well as this color scheme. I may not be a big, knowledgeable person about Evangelion, but I know what EVA Unit 1 looks like, and it looks like that, in terms of colors at least. To the point where I almost wonder, do you think that, like, Evangelion might have been, like, a little bit of an inspiration here? I know that Starscream became an angel in the Transformers Evangelion crossover, so I'm just saying, there's a couple of pre-existing crossed wires here. So the guy looks gorgeous, and he does. He looks absolutely gorgeous. And I was hoping he would be similar to Thundercracker in how he felt. He feels better than Skywarp. That's great. Skywarp was a loose mess. Banzaitron's halfway better. The wings are better, and the arms are better. The legs are worse. The knees are worse. The doors fall off constantly. I just don't have fun messing with this guy. It's a shame because in terms of an appearance, I like him more than Skywarp. Thundercracker is still my favorite looking, but Thundercracker is also still my favorite playing. I just don't really feel much love for this guy. What's even worse is in transforming him, I had countless little specks of paint all over my hands. And there were several points where I could literally see like, oh, just by trying to get this guy where he needs to be, I'm scraping the paint off things like his feet and his null rays. That doesn't happen with me with Thundercracker. It happened with me with Skywarp and this guy, though. And it makes me honestly wonder, was Thundercracker the only time this mold actually felt good? Just because I am worried about damaging the paint further, I'm not going to show off articulation on this guy here. If you would like to see that, go check out my Alternity Thundercracker review. Just know that this guy does have a great deal of posability. The only issue is, when the figure is chipping paint and doesn't feel super great, you're not going to be using a lot of those joints. Look, I'm happy to have Banzaitron in my collection. I really am. I'm really happy to have him alongside Skywarp and Thundercracker. But I'll be honest, for a few weeks I was kind of building this up. I was thinking, yes, this is going to be just like my experience with Thundercracker. Because if you go back and watch my Thundercracker review, you'll see I'm just absolutely beaming about how great that figure is. But instead, here we are, and I'm met with the same realization I made before, which is Thundercracker is one of the best high-profile and high-grade Thundercrackers ever made. Skywarp and Banzaitron do not hold a candle to their wavemate, I'm afraid. Which is really weird, considering they all share the same body, but I guess they don't all share the same fit and finish.